Good evening, or good morning, as some may say, in that today's talk is about P2P. And it's not person to person, it's actually like passion to paycheck. So I'm so excited to bring to you today this word of real talk and real solutions. And this one's gonna really bless some people that are out there as this revelation begins to bless me and truly unravel the next phase, the next step, the next opportunity that's part of my destiny. Now, as we all cheer and clap, that it's nothing like having an opportunity to just exhale, relax, release, that opens and unlocks doors for our next steps. So what P2P, as I mentioned before, stands for is passion to paycheck. And I am Dr. Dina Marie of DC Brown International. We're rebranding, people, because I realize that my message, my purpose, the opportunities I have to touch lives is not just for here. It's an international effort. And so as I go forth and birth that vision, that dream, those words, those passion that inspire and empower and transform lives, it is not just about my neighbor. It's about my global neighbor. And so DCB International has been born. But as I mentioned before, today's talk is about the P2P, the passion to paycheck. So I will actually do a little backstory for this opportunity. And I know I love the Sunday Setups for Success, and I look for opportunities to come and share on a regular and a consistent basis, because that's really key and important. But it's these opportunities and these aha moments that for Pacific time, it's 2:17 a.m., that I realize it's my time, it's my moment, it's my share with you and for you. And I hope that this message blesses you as it's blessed me, with the understanding of my why. And it's always getting back my why. And I realize my P2P, my passion to paycheck, is really about my why. And my why is to inspire, to empower, and to inform. And it truly is no laughing matter, because this is really serious as I look at my brothers and my sisters, especially my sisters, that are held in bondage with these limited mindsets, that they're stifled because of their fears of the unknown, their fears of the what next, the fears of truly doing what God has called them to do. And so they hang on to opportunities and situations that I would actually call their golden handcuffs, like myself. So this time I want to tell you a little bit about the golden handcuffs and how those golden handcuffs can really just be more like gold plated, and they turn your wrist to silver. So I want to give you a little bit of my backstory. In the last couple of years, although my life of glitter and glamour and travel and experience and leadership and notoriety has been something that others may have envied, but they didn't really know the truth. My reality is that I was absolutely not depressed, is too mild a word to describe it. I was dying inside. I was dying inside because my purpose and passion did not align to my profession. It didn't align, and it was so grossly disconnected that it was actually killing me from the inside out. So although I can smile and do what I need to do and make things happen and make things pop, as though I knew that I was responsible and I had an obligation to do, I also knew that I was dying. Have you ever experienced what it was like to die from the inside out? That you can smile and you can be that person for who you needed to be, but you couldn't be that person for your own self. That's really powerful. Especially when you realize and you understand that everything that you need to be the best you, and that you've given and you've shared with everyone else, is the core fundamentals of what you needed to be the best me. But you didn't have it in you to give to yourself because your lamp was empty. When you operate in a profession and you operate in a system that doesn't value you, doesn't value your ideas, doesn't value your passion, doesn't value your purpose, and you work in what I began to call a pit of vipers, of no matter what you did to inspire, empower, and transform their lives for the better, that their only core mission in life was to destroy you. There's a lesson in that. And once I realized I had to get beyond that, because I had to realize it wasn't about them. It was truly about me and the decisions I was making. Because there was something that I knew. And there's also something that you may know. And that's what God says is your purpose is and what you should be doing. And when you operate outside of, and even though you have been bestowed the sense of grace, you're still operating outside of. And when you're operating outside of, then you leave yourself vulnerable and susceptible to any and everything. And listeners, that was my story. So I can't share the whole story because, to be truthful and honest, we're still in litigation. And I promise you, when I finish my story and my testimony, I will share all. And I was working on a book. It's called The Diva's Journey. And it really talks about the themes, the trials, the tribulations, but the successes and the triumphs that we experience as women. And God said, you're stumped by this. You can't finish your story because your story's not over yet. It's not done. And really being astute and aware and understanding that right now I'm still in the battle. Even though it's not my battle, it's the Lord's battle. I'm still in the midst of it. That this is not the time to share it all. But I will share this with you. That when you are going through and you are wondering, why me, Lord? What's going on? How is it me? I've done this, I've done that, I've done what you've asked. I've given, I've been generous, I've been loving, I've been kind. But when you haven't been obedient, I'll say that again. When you haven't been obedient, that is where your testimony and your tribulation lies. So in my many chats and talks and discussions and laments and prayers and just drag out fights with God, I've said, God, how does this happen to me? Why me? I don't deserve this. I give, I love, I care. He said, but you haven't been obedient. Your purpose is not here. Now, for those of you who are listening for the first time, I'll tell you a little bit that I've been an educator for 20 years. And I've been a school administrator, meaning a vice principal and a principal for the last 8 years. And, what I've been able to do and empower and impact lives is nothing to what God has in store for me. He said, your touch, your reach, your opportunity far exceeds that in which you have been operating in. And I told you a couple of years ago, it was time for you to go. It was time for you to go. It was time for you to operate in your purpose. It was time for you to be obedient. But I didn't listen. So in this concept of Real Talk, Real Solution, I want to talk about our purpose and our passion and turning our passion into paychecks, and how looking at our source. What is our source for success? It's not what we think it is. It's not an Amex. It's not in Bank of America. It's definitely not in Wells Fargo. And it's definitely not in the new regime. It's our obedience to what God's plan is for us. Because we have a preordained mission and plan on our lives. And a purpose and a calling. But we also have a choice to operate. And when we knowingly choose to operate outside of that, we must deal with the consequences. And that's what the last 2 years has been about. Dealing with those consequences. But when I got a revelation knowledge, baby, let me tell you, I realized that. Got it. I understand it now. I got it now. My life has changed. Global travel, hopping, frivolous spending, and just living without learning the true value of every aspect and every action is what's taken its toll. But I will tell you, in the past year, as I have strengthened and built my relationship with God and realized that my spiritual connection, my spiritual relationship was the key and the foundation to reaching and accessing my life of abundance, not substance, but abundance, in which I deserve and I'm entitled to. Rest with me having a growth spurt. And growth spurts are not easy, and they are sometimes quite painful. So now that I've had a career shift, a job shift, in which I had been planning for, but when the time presented itself, it came for me unexpectedly because of situations and the circumstances, which I promise I will share in its entirety later when we finish the legality of it all. But I realized that I wasn't being obedient and that I needed to operate in my purpose so that I can turn into a paycheck. And God said, if you do what I tell you to do, I promise you that you will be blessed and you will live far more abundantly than you ever thought imaginable. And as I began to trust God to be my source, my resource, because I already knew He was part of my salvation, the doors to the kingdom and abundant living began to be unlocked. And this is real talk, real solutions. This is not about me, but it's about you as well. There's an opportunity for us to truly live an abundant lifestyle. An abundant lifestyle that has been already preordained based upon our calling. And it's time to start turning those passions into our paychecks. If you're going into work every day feeling like, oh my God, I don't want to be here, and you have nothing and you cannot add value, then why are you there? You're wasting time, and time lost can't be regained. I know that. That was my own first project, as I've said on many other occasions. Go back and listen to the other podcasts that I have on Spreaker. So in Real Talk, Real Solutions, I don't want to marinate and meditate and focus and stay stagnant in the issue. I want to talk about solutions. So what do you do? How do you get a clue? How do you turn the key? How do you transition out of? Well, I'll tell you, you transition out of by taking action steps. And number one is really, truly understanding what your purpose is. And that requires you to have an awareness and an understanding of who you are and what is your superpower to add value. What is it? How is it? What are you supposed to be doing? How are you supposed to be changing, impacting, transforming lives of others? This is not about you. When you get to that point, you will come up with what your purpose is. And then you begin to devise a plan. You begin to strategize. How do I make this happen? so that my needs are met, my needs are covered, but I actually am operating in my purpose, and that becomes my source. Whether you're a believer or not, this principle applies to you. So think about this as you begin to marinate, because our week on Real Talk, Real Solutions was about marinating on what your purpose is. How are you going to make that your paycheck? Because it's about purpose, passion, and progress and growing. That was what the talk topic was for the previous year. And now we're talking about activating, acting, and achieving and making it happen. You have the skill sets, you have the tool sets, and you have all the resources to do that. But are you going to be strong enough, willing enough, and passionate enough to do it? Or are you going to wallow in self-pity and mediocrity? That's your choice. Whatever you choose, be willing to deal with the consequences thereof. But I'll tell you what, I choose to fly like the eagle, not stoop like the pigeon. So, on this episode of Real Talk, Real Solutions, we've had the opportunity to share with you how we can really begin to go P2P, passion into paycheck. So stay tuned. There's more to come in order to learn, live, and lead with DC Brown. Thank you. Have an amazing, amazing, amazing transformative day.